Giles hates magic. That's how it's always been. The day he was born, he had an all-encompassing disdain for the arcane arts. And still, he found himself at the center of some esoteric prophecy from a land ruled by 3 living gods. What a farce. Not being able to use magic will make picking major and minor skills pretty easy. We'll basically take everything orcs are good with. Axes, medium armor, block, armorer, the combat specialized skills. Security might be important, so it gets a major skill slot, and acrobatics will definitely be important. For attributes, we'll take speed and luck. Without magic, we'll be running around a lot, which is why we're also taking the Steed birth sign. The extra luck will give a small boost to all of our dice rolls, which will be amplified further thanks to the Berserk greater power. I should specify what I mean by magic though, just so we're all on the same page. Obviously I can't cast any spells, that's a given, but I don't want to ask any mages to cast spells for me, so no Mages Guild teleports. And we aren't going to use anything a mage has made. No enchanted items casting spells for us, no scrolls casting spells for us, and most importantly, no potions. What are potions if not magic in a bottle? How will Giles handle the Telvanni Towers? Keep watching to find out. You may argue that Berserk is magic since it's in our magical spell list, but I'm gonna allow it because it's part of who Giles is. It's no more magical than his innate proficiency with axes is magical. Sunder, Keening, and Wraithguard are magical items, however, and Giles will need to use them if he wants to defeat Dagoth. So technically, we've already got our answer. We can't beat Morrowind without using magic. But these prophetic dreams have been harassing Giles for years now, and there's only 2 options available to him. Either eliminate the dreams with a counterspell, or fulfill the prophecy and avoid having to consult with an Oneiromancer every night for the rest of his days. The latter is the lesser of 2 evils. Swing a hammer once, and a dagger a half dozen times for an eternity of peace. This run will be starting a bit differently than normal. Usually there's a bunch of stuff I like to buy, like potions, spells, and scrolls, just to get me started, but we won't be using any of that. The 200 gold we can loot from this dead taxman, an odd place to store municipal funds if you ask me, should serve us well enough for now. Ah, foolish mage. No matter how excellent your taste in headwear is, it will never undo the mistakes you've made. Disgusting. After arriving in Balmora, we go around collecting the random crap from the crates, selling a bunch of it to Revere, and we buy some master level lockpicks and probes from Noleno Dorvain in the Hlalu Manor. I considered getting the skeleton key from Jim Stacy, killing him and taking it, that is, but there's 2 reasons why we aren't going to do that. First, I want this run to feel somewhat organic. I don't want to go too far out of my way to get stuff. It's a very use what you find sort of a run. Use the things you happen to come across. Also, the skeleton key isn't technically an enchanted item. As far as the game is aware, it's just a regular lockpick with a really high quality modifier. But in the lore, it's a Daedric artifact. And that sounds pretty damn magical to me. So we'll be using regular lockpicks. Also, I want to get ahead of this before someone brings it up. Daedric items, like armor and weapons, aren't Daedric artifacts. Giles doesn't consider them magical in the same way that a Daedric artifact is magical. That is to say, if I find a Daedric weapon, I'm gonna use it. Hey, narratively spurious cyborg. You seem a little off. You doing alright?
I just feel like there's something stuck in my hat, and I just... Oh, that's what it was. Today's sponsor.
Posters are a great way to add a bit of flavor to your living space, but paper posters are flimsy, the color fades, and they can rip and tear. Displate offers over 2 million poster designs printed on metal. How one must crave the clean certainty of steel. Installation is a breeze. There are no tools required, and you don't have to make any holes in your walls. You clean the surface, place the protective leaf on the surface, peel the foil off the magnet, press it hard against the leaf, and hang your displate. Easy as that.
Home sweet home.
Displate has designs from all sorts of media, so if you want to change up your posters, you can just pop the displate off the magnet and throw a new one up.
This is part of Displate's new run of textured displates. Gives them a little extra personality when you hang them up.
Look at this one here. The map of Vardenfell came as a poster with the original release of the game. Finding an original version of that poster, over 2 decades later, in perfect condition might as well be impossible. But Displate came through. All the same details from that map are replicated here. All the cities, all the Daedric ruins, the roads, the waterways, and it's all tinged with that old map beige. but it's metal, so it's sturdy, and it'll certainly last longer than those old paper posters did. Displates make a great gift, which is why Displate is running an Xmas sale this holiday season. By using the link in the description or in the pinned comment, or by using the promo code JBN at checkout, you can get 16% off one Displate, 21% off 2, or 26% off 3 or more. Thanks again to Displate for sponsoring this video. Before leaving Balmora, we swing by Caius and get our first marching orders and a free 200 gold, which we use to buy a steel war axe from Thorak in the Razor Hole. It won't help us fight off ghosts in Daedra, but hopefully we'll find a silver axe somewhere. Worst case scenario, we'll find any kind of silver weapon and just use Berserk to take out any normal immune enemies. Oh, magical grandpa, you've picked a fight with the wrong orc.
Surrender now and I might let you
Ow!
live.
Alright, enough of this dodging bullshit. I'm taking your shoes.
You're beaten.
It was only a matter of time before someone tried to ass me. We can't even go to Mournhold to get them to stop, since that would require Ascian Rain teleporting us. May as well make the best out of this situation and sell his armor. He's got a silver dagger too, just in case he has to assassinate a ghost. We'll hold on to that. Credo thinks his pitiful magic shield will protect his head from the axe I'm about to bury in it. You could have been a true warrior, Credo. Instead, you took the easy path with your spells and potions. Shame it had to end this way. Ugh, I gotta walk out of this place. My Skyrim baby brain can't handle these dungeons not having anachronistic mechanisms creating one-way doors that route the end of the dungeon back to the start. Hasfat Antibolus has some information that Caius wants, and he'll trade us that information for a Dwemer puzzle box, the one we just took from Arkangthand. Returning the puzzle box to Hasfat brings us to the Fighters Guild, which we join for no other reason than to ransack their supply chest. These fighters are no warriors, however. They think health and fatigue potions count as supplies, but the repair hammers, those will be useful. I'm gonna take those. Hasfat takes the puzzle box, gives us information about the Nerevarine, and sends us on our way. And since we're on this side of the Odai Slough, we'll sell this set of Dark Brotherhood gear to Revere and Meldor. Are there better vendors to sell to? Sure. Do I care? Not really. Meldor sells bone mold gear, including a shield, and since our medium armor skill started at a whopping 45, I see no reason not to use it. Medium armor is probably the least optimal armor type in the game, considering its weight to armor ratio, but bone mold looks cool, so all other arguments are moot. The next quest Caius sends us on involves helping a mage. Ugh, disgusting, I know. But it's nothing undignifying like being a test subject for one of her spells or something. She just wants us to do some grave robbing. Without teleports like Mark and Recall, I expected getting around the world to be a real pain, but I'm surprised with how fast we're able to move, even with a near full suit of medium armor. Orcs with the steed sign there's something else. I was going the wrong way. The Andrano Ancestral Tomb will be a good place to test our Silver Dagger Berserk strat. It's the only weapon I have that can hurt ghosts. Well, there's my fists, but the dagger's stronger. The damage is low, but it's not so low that I can't kill the ghost before Berserk wears off. Hopefully I find a better weapon before I have to fight the Wraith of Soul Centipool and get the Bonebiter Bow of Soul Centipool for Sulmatul Ashcan of the Urshalakwa Ashlanders. My biggest fear for this run, or maybe second biggest fear, are the Greater Bonewalkers. This here is a lesser Bonewalker, so not nearly as much of a problem. They drain your strength and endurance, but the effects are temporary. The Greater Bonewalkers damage your strength, permanently reducing the attribute until you use a potion or a spell to restore it. You can pray at a shrine to restore your attributes, but that feels like magic too, so if anything damages our stats, we're screwed. Same for diseases. If we contract a disease, we're stuck with it. So, avoid getting hit by Greater Bonewalkers, and don't interact with wild animals. Two excellent pieces of advice that anyone can apply to their everyday life, even in real life. One might come up more than the other though. The frequency of their occurrence is inversely proportional to the danger they pose. Ooh, a Nordic battle axe. I'm so used to the Daedric battle axe that I did not expect this attack animation. I like it. There's totally no way to throw your back out doing this. I can't block with it though, and without healing potions I feel I'll need as much damage mitigation as I can get, so I'll hold on to the axe for now, and I'll keep it for burst damage, but I'm still going to lean heavily on the one-handed axe. Returning the skull to Sharn rewards us with information. What is this, Daggerfall? Caius is happy with the intel, but he won't give us our next quest until we're level 3. So we've got a bit of grinding to do. I considered working for the Fighters Guild for a bit. Seems appropriate. They're not perfect warriors, but at least they're trying. The first job they tasked me with was fighting off a bunch of rats and nibbling on some crazy lady's pillows. If this is the caliber of adventure one should expect from an imported guild, maybe I don't want to join them. I'd rather construct my own training regiment. Think of it like jumping jacks and upright crunches. Trust me, these acrobatic levels will not go to waste. The Fighters Guild even has built-in treadmills so you can get your cardio in. Now that we're level 3, we're ready to tackle whatever dangerous task Caius has in mind for us. Talking to people in Vivec. Hey, that is pretty tough for some people. We all have different battles to fight. Caius has very high speedcraft, so he just assumes everybody has that issue. It's actually very considerate of him. Julia is being harassed by some guys, so we kill those some guys because Vardenfell is a hellscape. And then we escort our lizard pal to Jobash's bookshop. It's no surprise he needs help, he's a coward who uses enchanted weapons. Rather than reading all of these A Dance in Fire books, we're gonna steal them and hold on to them for later. 2 of them give acrobatic skill ups, 1 gives block, and another gives athletics. I think a couple give mercantile, but that's not important. I want to save them for when my levels are a bit higher, when the books will be worth more XP. And Marimilo is going to tell us to get a copy of the Progress of Truth, so we'll steal one while we're here. Caius is going to need it. Then we finish up here in Vivec by chatting with Adherenir, Vivec's very own sewer cat, and Marimilo, Vivec's very own temple elf. There are quite a few temple elves actually. Vardenfell is full of them. Full of elves. So many elves. All 3 people we talked to gave us notes about the Nerevarine cult, the 6th House's association with the Thieves Guild as smugglers, and the Dissident Priests, a heretical group which believes the Nerevarine prophecy will come to pass. It's a prophecy that directly threatens the Tribunal's authority in more ways than one. So of course, the temple has squads of thought police roaming the lands. Caius would love to hear what the dissident priests have to say about all this, but finding those priests ain't easy, because of the whole religious persecution thing. Instead, Caius wants us to get in touch with one of Vardenfell's Ashlander tribes, since they still follow the old ways, and have been left more or less unbothered by the temple. The Ashlanders like gifts, and Hasara Zain Subani, the informant in Alduran, enjoys poetry, so we go to the local bookstore and see what Codus Colonis has for sale. He looks a bit like Caius, but you can tell it's not him because this guy has a shirt on. Even though we can't use scrolls in this run, I still like checking to see what scrolls some vendors spawn with, just to sate my curiosity. He's got a Cash's Lock Splitter this time around. Man, what a shameless reprobate, using a humble incunabula as a front for peddling such degenerate paraphernalia. I do need to buy a book of poetry from him though. In trade for the book, Hasara tells us about the Ursulaco Ashlanders that live on the northern coast of Vardenfell, and with that final piece of information, Caius promotes us to a higher rank in the Blades, and reveals the full truth of what's really going on. We were initially sent to Morrowind because the Emperor believed we satisfied the Nerevarine prophecy, or, as Caius assumed, similar enough that the Empire could exploit us and turn us into some sort of imposter Nerevarine. Destabilize stuff. Typical diplomacy. But now Caius isn't sure what to believe. We may actually be the Nerevarine. Giles ain't too pleased to hear it. Daedric machinations and messianic prophecies? How different is that from magic? Well, if it is indeed prophetic, there's not much Giles can do about it anyway. Free will is an illusion. Caius tells us to meet with the Ursulaco Ashlanders, and that we should go to Margan to get more detailed directions. Normally I'd go to Kull and levitate over the mountains, or jump using one of Tarheel's scrolls of Icarian flight, but we're gonna do this the way I did it the first time I played this game. I think this is how I did it the first time I played this game. By following NPC directions. You see, the first time I did a full playthrough of Morrowind, I wasn't aware of Mark, Recall, or any teleports, so I was mostly walking everywhere. I don't remember many of the details of my first playthrough, but I assume I heeded the advice of Nuleno Tadas, a scout in Margan's outpost. She tells us to go east of Margan, enter Foyada Banidad, and follow it northwest toward the sea. I have to say, it's not the fastest path considering how much wildlife there is on the way, but it does feel like the more Morrowind path. Swimming around a mountain range is boring. Fighting a cliff racer every 10 seconds? Only an Outlander would complain. Of course, there's bandits in the Foyada. What better place to banditize than a desolate valley far outside of civilization? Actually, do trade routes pass through this Foyada? Hasara says he's a trader, conducting deals between his former tribesmen and the cities to the south, but he's also a member of the Thieves Guild. Are the bandits here waiting to attack traders, bringing things to and from the Ursulaco? Ooh, or maybe they're also members of the Thieves Guild, and they're Hasara's compatriots. Were his compatriots. Long journeys have their upsides. Level 4. Knowing the Ashlanders' fondness for gifts, we'll give this tribe's Ashkan's Gulakan the greatest gift of all, a couple $100. Money may buy an audience, but it doesn't buy trust. So Sul-Matul sets us on a quest to get his dad's gross magical bow from their burial cavern. I guess Giles is fine with touching magical items if he can't avoid it. The nasty-ass bow of Sul-Senapul, father of Sul-Matul, is held by the Wraith of Sul-Senapul, father of the future Wraith of Sul-Matul, at the end of the Ursulaco skeleton-filled Ursulaco burial caverns. Ursulai can't believe these guys dug this entire cavern out by hand. Aliens must have helped them. Most of the time I beeline straight for the bow, but these caverns are full of optional pathways. What treasures might the dead have? Really, man? In a burial cavern? Be respectful. Enjoy a new home. Oh geez, are you kidding me? Unfortunately, I found nothing of note besides an enchanted axe, a jar of scrolls, and a bunch of skelly archers. What about further beyond the Juno burial door? Again, I usually rush into the Juno chamber and don't explore much. Amulet of Frost, garbage, not even worth enough to want to sell. I think I see something shiny over there. Ah, missed the jump. Oh wait, what's down here? Magebane? What? There's just a glass claymore sitting in this dungeon? I'm not gonna soil my honor by using it, but damn if I won't pawn it off to an enchanter. Talk about a power move. Selling a mage a sword called Magebane. Let's try jumping to the shiny thing that distracted me at first. For those unaware, because fatigue affects just about everything you do, the lower your fatigue, the shorter your jumps are. Fortifying your fatigue almost acts as an acrobatics boost because the ratio between your current fatigue and maximum fatigue is increased. The Berserk power grants 200 points of extra fatigue, effectively doubling our fatigue modifier for most actions. This is all to say, Berserk helps us jump. And there's glass greaves here. What the hell? These dead Ashlanders are loaded. Too bad none of them had a silver axe. Guess they never have to fight Daedra. Wait, their camp is right near Astronabitashpi. The scout in Margan warned us to be careful when going from the Foyada to the camp. If you get too close to the ruins, you may get attacked by Daedra. Shouldn't the Ashlanders have... They probably have enchanted weapons. Right, never mind. I guess we'll be fighting the Wraith of Sul-Cenepool, holder of the Bonebiter Bow of Sul-Cenepool, with the Berserk Silver Dagger combo. What's great about daggers is that their minimum damage is pretty close to their maximum damage, so it's actually more damage per second to do quick stabs, rather than charging your attacks. Why is the ghost bleeding? That's the bow. And now we walk out of the caverns. Lovely, a bunch of skeletons respawn. That's the drawback of going Berserk. It's so good, you want to use it a bunch. So you wait 24 hours after each activation. Curse you, Blood Moon. The Zelda one, not the Morrowind one. With the bow, we become a clan friend of the Ursulaku, and Sul-Matul is willing to discuss matters of the Nerevarine with us. But he's skeptical. How could the Nerevarine be an outlander? Nibani Mesa, Ursulaku wise woman, regales us with the extensive lore surrounding the Nerevarine. She tells us about the 7 trials, about the lost prophecies, and about the other remaining Ashlanders on Vardenfell. And now this is where the no magic restriction is really gonna start hurting. How do we get back to Caius and tell him what we learned? We walk. We walk. Level 5. And we're back in town. Glorious Cull. Okay, Silkstrider, get me the hell out of Cull. Back at the ranch, Caius says he needs some time to get used to the idea of our rippling orc warrior body. The idea of us being the Nerevarine. While he consults with Maramilo, he wants us to kill a gross mutant outside of Narmok. Before heading out, we head to Aldrun and unload the glass loot we found in the burial caverns. Yeah, they're worth tens of thousands of gold, but I'm happy to give Lethervari a really good deal. I don't feel like doing any shuffling. That feels like magic in its own right. We'll also buy a silver longsword from Yambagorn Gorshulor. Good old reliable Yambagorn Gorshulor. The most iconic Yambagorn, if you ask me. He's in Fort Buckmoth, but you already knew that. Everyone knows Yambagorn. How's Illinibi gonna treat us? Without any real way to heal besides resting, I expect the Ash Slaves will be a bit troublesome. My armor can't reduce their shock damage, and they've got 100 agility, so they're super evasive. I could lean on Berserk, but finding private areas to rest in this dungeon isn't always an option. There's always an enemy nearby, somehow. Yes, I know, no fatigue. I get it. Low fatigue sucks. It makes you less accurate, makes combat harder. People leave comments about my poor fatigue management all the time. But listen, some runs, a lot of runs, don't have the luxury of endless amounts of fatigue restoration methods. This run has none except waiting, and I'll be damned if I'm gonna walk between fights. I may be wasting more time by prolonging the fights than I would if I just casually strolled between battles, preserving my fatigue, but it feels like I'm wasting more time by walking, so I'm not gonna. Point is, don't worry about my fatigue. Actually, it's a mod. I recolored my fatigue to be black, so it's actually full right now. Daggerfall. The biggest risk you face when fighting occult offshoots of a culture's traditional religion is that you might catch something when you kill their bishops. Remember kids, practice safe sects. Put on captions if that joke didn't make sense. It's so weird walking out of Illinibi. It's like looking at someone you know in the mirror. Like, you know it's them, but it looks off because everything's flipped. So Dagoth Gares, who's easier to kill than the Ash Slaves, infected us with Caprice, which Caius wants us to sort out immediately. It's super gross. He gives us a Dwemer artifact that we can use to curry favor with the Telvanni wizard Devaith Fear. Fear is Morrowind's preeminent expert on Corpus, so if anyone knows a cure, it's him. As loath as Giles is to interact with a mage, and Devaith Fear is like a double mage, by the way, Giles can't help but feel that this divine disease is more magical than anything Fear could do. It's gotta go. A true warrior swims through the fish-infested waters. A true warrior doesn't rely on water walking. If water was meant to be walked on, it'd be ice. I'm stuck, and not a step bro in sight. I guess mages have that one benefit over me. I'm landbound. They'd better hope no one, I don't know, outlaws levitation and everyone just rolls with it for some reason. I reloaded an autosave. It's not magic, it's just something that the rocks we taught how to count can do. Level 7. So at this point, you may be wondering how I'm actually gonna get to Devaith Fear. He's a Telvanni, and Telvanni architecture is, well, surprisingly it was designed with accessibility in mind, but not so they could accommodate others. It was specifically designed so they could better abuse what they perceived as weakness in others. At least that's what I assume. Their towers require levitation, at least until Skyrim's Dragonborn DLC, when Nelith, of all people, decided to install a magical elevator for the not so mystically inclined. This makes me think the Nelith we meet in Skyrim may not be the Nelith we meet in Morrowind. Perhaps they're different Neliths. This justifies the killing of Nelith in my canon Nerevarine video. It's still canon. Yeah, anyway, getting up the tower. This is where my race choice comes in. Recall when I explained how the Fortify Fatigue effect affects how far and high you can hop? Well, without doing anything special, our jump height is pretty piddly. By dropping everything in our inventory, except the stupidly heavy Dwemer Coherer we gotta give Devaith, we can jump just a bit higher, but it's still not nearly enough. Even without the Coherer, we can barely make it halfway. So what do we do? Are we gonna have to make an exception here? Do we have to use levitation potions? Will this also mean we have to levitate when visiting all the Telvanni counselors when we need to get their vote for Hortator? Of course not. I tested this beforehand. If I couldn't find a way to climb these towers without magic, I wouldn't have bothered with this run. But it's gonna require a bit of exercise. By wedging ourselves just right, we can jump super fast and power level our acrobatics. Giles is gonna have calves the size of calves. Baby cows by the end of this. I think 90 acrobatics should cover it. Here's the jump with full fatigue before casting Berserk. Quite the improvement. Olympics, here I come. With Berserk, who needs magic when your quads are so big they weigh more than an entire wizard? Naked and dripping with sweat, we present Devaith Fear with the Dwemer Coherer. He's willing to entertain the theory that we may be the Nerevarine, but we need help with this whole Corpus thing first. He sends us to the basement to collect a pair of boots from his spider dwarf, and we return a day later, using Berserk to jump up his tower once again. With a single high five, Devaith imbues us with the power of friendship, curing our Corpus once and for all. That's definitely what he did. It wasn't a potion, it was a high five. The highest of fives, actually, because I can jump like a spring-loaded frog. You see, friendship is the counter to the Sharmat, because the Sharmat is a dreamer, and in your dreams, you kind of don't know who your friends are and who isn't your friend. It's like, is that my friend? Well, no, that's actually my dad, but he looks like my friend, but I know he's not my friend, he's my dad. Unfortunately, our super speed must come to an end, because a warrior is nothing without his weapons and armor. Back to Caius. These fish must be losing their minds. What the hell happened in that tower? How did he get this strong? Push-ups, sit-ups, and plenty of juice. Caius is done here in Morrowind, and he's left the remainder of the operation, becoming Dunmer Jesus, up to us. Before departing, he gives us his enchanted clothes and his enchanted ring. Giles never took Caius for a weakling, someone who would hide behind enchantments. And certainly Caius knows Giles has no interest in these trinkets. Perhaps this is a wordless message from Caius, that he's recognized these baubles have held him back all these years, and to resist the temptation to use them again, he handed them off to someone he's sure would never use them. I wish him the best. Good luck, Caius. May your magicka be forever drained. Caius' last order is to meet back up with Marimilo and find some record of the lost prophecies. But the Ordinators have eyes and ears everywhere, and when we arrive in Vivec, she's nowhere to be found. A note in her private quarters gives us a hint that she's probably being held prisoner in Bar Dao, the big old rock hovering above the Temple District. We gotta bust her out, but the only way to get into Bar Dao is by levitating. So soon after solving the Devaith dilemma, we're met with this. It's hopeless. We have to drink the potion. Or do we? By using a combination of Berserk, a prodigious amount of stripping, and a bit of clever platforming, we can jump to the top of the Temple Canton's primary structure and just barely reach the peak. We just need a teeny tiny bit more oomph to make it the rest of the way. Oomph in the form of more acrobatics levels. That's 100 acrobatics. If we can't make it now, then we'll have to figure something else out. Maybe we'll turn to the sauce. Sujamma is kinda like a potion, but it wasn't made by a mage, so I guess Giles wouldn't have a problem with it? But hopefully this works and we don't have to ask that question. Moment of truth. Yeah! But can we make this next jump? Shit. Oh, it worked! In my testing, I had to jump to the lower entrance and pick the level 80 lock. Is why I took security. Well, Giles ain't one to ask where the Kwama eggs came from. He'll take it. Breaking Marimilo out of jail is a cinch. We just run through the place, juke the Ordinators, soar across the walkway, oh my god, and pick the door to her cell. She requested we bring her a scroll of divine intervention so she can escape to Ebonheart. We did, of course, have to buy one from a dirty enchanter, but Mera's the one who'll be using it, not us. We're taking the scenic route out of here. Can't forget our stuff, of course. Now we're off to Holomayan, the mystical headquarters of the dissident priests. Marimilo said it was hidden by Azuran magics, and Vavrana Aryan, the dark priest outside the monastery, says the entrance is shrouded by a magical shield, and the portal will open at dawn and dusk only. The magical twilight hours sacred to Azura. I don't know, this sounds like too much magic for Giles. Oh, this shit ain't magic. This is just a door. It's just a door. Marimilo introduces us to Gilvis Borello, leader of the heretics, and he drops a bunch of books into our backpack, a quantity that would make even the sturdiest of lumberjacking, farm-handing dock workers buckle. But Giles holds fast, as if Gilvis had done nothing but hand him a loaf of bread. Gilvis wasn't surprised, however. Gilvis knew who stood before him. Not just Nerevar Reborn, not just the savior of Morrowind, but Giles Springfoot Corey, certified badass. Receiving the final book, Giles looks Gilvis in the eyes, and with a voice as unbothered as a man lounging on the Azuran coast, he says, "More weight." Our first trek to the Urshulaku took us down a Foyata, but our return trip will be more familiar. We travel to Kull, kill the bandits just outside the city, collapse from exhaustion because damn, those books are heavy, and get our ass pecked by a cliff racer for a bit. Once we come to, we swim around the mountains, past the Daedric ruins, and return to the camp. We tell Nabani Mesa everything we've learned, and reveal that we've been cured of Corpus, satisfying the second of the 7 trials within the Nerevarine prophecy. The third trial is known by Sul-Matul, but he won't reveal it unless we prove ourselves to him once again. He sends us to Coggerun, a Dunmer stronghold that was once the ancestral home of House Dagoth. It's been infested with cultists, and he would like us to go there and gather a House Dagoth cup, some Corpus weepings, and the Shadow Shield. Useless junk, but perhaps we'll luck out and find a better axe while we're there. We're still using this steel one, and Coggerun's got some Daedra in it, so this axe ain't gonna cut it. The cup and the weepings are easy. They're in this room with a single noodle snoot. An easy enemy to kill, even though you don't have to. I took an optional path inside Coggerun, even though I knew the loot down here was static. There's a bunch of glass armor, some glass weapons, and an ebony sword behind these low-level locked doors. I was hoping there was an ebony axe that I might have overlooked in previous runs, but that was just wishful thinking. There's an ebony spear on one of the upper levels of this place, but that's still not what we're looking for. Yet another scenario of I can't heal because there are too many enemies around, and I can't fight the enemies because, oh my god, I only have 2 health. Giles must grit his teeth through the pain. Oof, finally. Can you imagine if I was still using that assassin's silver dagger? Silver sword still isn't ideal. Berserk is almost mandatory against the Fire Atronachs. Gotta burn them down before they burn us down. Beyond all the Atronachs and the cultists is the Shadow Shield, and a pair of Daedric gauntlets. I like the medium armor thing we're running with, so I'm just gonna leave these here. The next adventurer Sul-Matul sends here can have them. Now we gotta fight our way out of Coggerun. There is a back entrance, but that would put us behind the ghost fence, and we definitely don't want that. Red Mountain without levitation is a gauntlet. Oh, by the way, I found a silver claymore on my way out. Having satisfied yet another demand of Sul-Matul, he tells us that the third trial requires we travel to the Cavern of the Incarnate. Finding the cavern, however, is part of the test. confused. It's a riddle, you see. But what is a riddle to the Godhead? Assuming you buy the idea that the Godhead is a stand-in for the player at the keyboard. Or the Godhead is each person's specific game, and it's like different universes, different Godheads. Everybody has their own unique, personalized Godhead. I'm not fond of that theory, but I know where the cavern is nonetheless. The trick is getting there, and boy is that going to take a minute. We'll return to civilization by traveling through that same Foyata once again. Combat might not be such a bad thing. More skill ups and all that. Although in retrospect, fighting all the wildlife is probably really dangerous considering the whole disease thing. Level 14. You really miss out on a lot of leveling when you zip and zoop across the map with teleports. Several boat rides later, and we've made it to the Grazelands, the most serene locale in all of Vardenfell. It reminds me of Nagrand from the Burning Crusade WoW expansion. Such a peaceful place.
You will die.
In the dawn hour under Azura's star, the door is opened. Nerevar.
Would this be the start of Act 2? Act 1 is us trying to figure out what the Nerevarine is. Act 3 is assaulting Red Mountain. Act 2 is the Ashlander and Hortator stuff. I'm going to consider this the second act. Our first act of the second act will be having a chat with the leader of the Zainab pack. After a bit of bribery and getting him to like us a bit more, Kaushad sends us off to kill the vampire Calvario as a test of our mettle. Remember my talk about the Greater Bonewalkers? Calvario's got one guarding his crypt, and we've got to take extra care not to get clipped by its strength damaging spell. It's permanent without using some sort of magic to fix it. Praying at shrines counts as magic. Calvario is pretty easy. The Silver Claymore gets through his normal weapon resistance, and Berserk makes us perfectly accurate. Happy that the vampire is dead, Kaushad tells us he'll acknowledge us as Nerevarine if we find him a high-born Telvanni bride. His wise woman suggests we buy a slave instead. It's not magic, so Giles doesn't give a damn. We return to Voss, boat over to Telmora, buy a set of exquisite clothes from Ellie, and we buy some Telvanni bug musk from Yolda, the apothecary. We buy Flora Lurvu in Telerun for 1,200 drakes, give her the clothes and the bug musk, making her look like a Telvanni noble, and begin the long and arduous task of leading her through this goddamn mushroom tunnel.
Hey, wait for me.
Flora, please, just step over the rib. Just step over the rib. Telvanni hallways, ribbed for my displeasure. I did kill the bandits on my way from the camp back to Voss, so we won't have to defend Flora from anything but wildlife. Traveling on foot isn't all that bad. With his sex slave delivered, Kaushad names us Nerevarine of the Zainab Ashlanders. He gives us his thong, and it's enchanted, so we're not going to keep it, as if we keep it anyway. Because they're nearby, let's sort out the Ahamusa as well. All we gotta do is escort Sinamu Murple, the clan's wise woman, to a safe place where the tribe can set up a new settlement. She suggests Ald Daedroth, the Daedric ruin to the north. She wants us to check the place out first, then bring her there once it's safe. But I'm sure it's fine. It's an old Daedric ruin on an island in the Sea of Ghosts. Who would be there? Sinamu has a habit of chasing fish. I go in the water, the fish attack me. Sinamu aggroes the fish, but she's standing on the water so the fish can't attack her back, and so the fish flee. She chases after the fleeing fish, and the two just disappear. Instead, I'll tell her to wait on land and not follow me. Then, I'll step into the water, kill all the fish in this section of the water, then escort her across. It's tedious, but it gets the job done. Oh my god, what? Well, I guess this is the Sheogorath region. We can lead Sinamu to the central shrine and leave her with all the bad guys, and she'll still name us Nerevarine. But I'm curious if any of these enemies have decent loot. There's a couple golden saints in here actually, and they usually carry decent weapons. This one has a Daedric dagger, not an axe, but that Dreg shield. It's a medium shield with 72 points of armor, compared to my Bone Mold Tower shield with only 30. Talk about an upgrade. The only axe in this whole place, and it's enchanted. Well, the extra effort wasn't worth it. Should have left after I got that shield. Anyway, our next stop is Tel Voss to speak with Master Aryan about becoming Telvanni Hortator. We can't levitate, so we'll need to climb the Imperial Towers Aryan grew his mushroom tower around. Why is there a hunger here? I don't like being a high level during the main quest. Oh, wait, there's an NPC upstairs. Maybe we can get him to help us kill this thing. Alright, he doesn't care.
This one is...
Ah, shit, I attacked him by accident. This paralysis is a pain in the ass. But man, am I surprised how durable we are. It's like armor mitigates damage or something. It was weird. Alright, the hunger's dead. Now, I guess we deal with the cat. Oh, he had a glass war axe the entire time. It is a good thing we accidentally attacked him. It is also convenient that he is a member of House Telvanni, so we accrued no bounty for this crime. If you did not want to be murdered, you should not have been so easily murderable. Awesome, we've got a glass war axe now. A non-normal weapon. Oh, serendipity. Diversion aside, once we reach the highest point of the tallest tower, we can hop across to the entrance of Arian's mushroom with ease. See, Arian isn't like most Telvanni. He sees value in collaboration. The world building in Morrowind is incredibly deliberate, so I assume the way Arian's tower is constructed is supposed to be symbolic. His tower isn't just built in and around Imperial architecture, but is also more readily accessible to the non-magically inclined. Also, he may be quote-unquote sharing the space with the Imperial structure, but his tower is clearly the stronger presence. He's still in charge. Or maybe I'm reading too much into it. Maybe the drapes are just blue. Arian tells us in order to be named Hortator, we need the support of the other counselors. Thorana, Dratha, and Nelith can be convinced with bribes. Gothrin can't be convinced, so he has to die. We'll backburner that for now because we've got some peace to deliver. The Erebin will never acknowledge us as Nerevarine because they're currently being led by Ulith Pal, a bad man who doesn't respect the customs of hospitality. He hates outlanders and thinks nothing of killing unarmed men, women, and children. To bring peace to the tribe, we gotta kill all the bad guys and give their belongings to Hanamu, giving him the confidence to lead the tribe. Also, all his political enemies are dead, so he has nothing to worry about. I'm so glad I accidentally killed that Khajiit. Uplifting someone who I know would name me Nerevarine feels like a cheat, but no one ever said prophecy was clean. From the Erebin camp, we can run south to Muligmar, which isn't as far as the map would make you think, and boat on over to Tel Brenora to get the Telvanni stuff squared away. You know Thorana's crazy because her tower isn't very tall, a maniac among the Telvanni. The ribs in her mushroom tube give us a bit more height to jump from. Bribe Thorana, get her vote, it's been a pleasure. Next counselor, Nelith in Tel Naga. His tower is a bit of a maze, and the central xylem is really tall. I mean, I know mushrooms don't have xylem, but you know what I mean. Fortunately, there are a lot of offshoots as you ascend the tube, so we don't need to clear the jump in one go. We do need to strip and go berserk though. Ah, I knew taking security was a good idea. Vote number 2. In Tel Mora, a little bit of free running gets us to Dratha's level, and with a bit of cash, we get the last Telvanni vote we need. All that's left is killing Gothrin. Gothrin's tower, Tel Arun, is a bit of a hassle as well, but it's no match for these sinewy thighs. This may not be correct, but it seems if you attack Gothrin's Dremora friends instead of Gothrin, the two elves downstairs don't join in the fight, and if you line things up right, Gothrin will kill, or nearly kill, one of the Dremora with his initial fireball spell. Once the two Dremora are dead, I don't think Gothrin can actually kill us. He casts Paralyze, and if it makes contact, he'll start shanking us with his Daedric dagger, but our armor is thick, and his arms are noodly, so he probably wouldn't do too much damage before I broke free from his spell, and then caved his skull in. Returning to Arian. Oh, the hunger is a Daedroth now. Returning to Arian locks in our Telvanni Hortatorness, and we can now move on to the 2 other great houses. They'll be a lot simpler since having no magic doesn't really change how this works. Redoran. We rescue Ethan Serethi's son from Venom Manor, talk to all the other counselors to ensure their support, and then challenge Bolvin Venom to a duel. We'll meet him in the Vivek Arena soon enough. For Hlalu, we go to the Hlalu Canton in Vivek, pay Crassius Curio 1,000 gold for his support, Ingling Half-Troll 2,000 gold for his support, and pick the lock leading to the basement of the haunted house in the St. Ohm's Canton Plaza finding Drambarrow and securing his vote. He's a strange fella. Finally, we've got Orvis Dren. If we bribe him, we can easily convince him and his 2 counselor sycophants to vote for us. But we're gonna fight him instead. He allied with Dagoth so he doesn't take too kindly to us saying we'll defeat him. And look what armor he's wearing. Orcish armor. Medium armor. Who better to deliver Giles the perfect armor than an ally of Dagoth? With Dren dead, all that's left is talking to Valanda Omani and Naveni Ules, securing their support, and returning to Crassius, becoming Hlalu Hortator. And while we're here in Vivec, we've got a Redoran counselor to duel.
You will suffer greatly.
I'm taking his Daedric Daikatana. They say it's dishonorable to loot the bodies of defeated duelists, but Orcish armor already has a samurai aesthetic going for it. I have to finish the look. Now that Bolvin is dead, we can talk with Ethan Serethi, earn the title of Hortator, and finally bring an end to Act 2. Oh damn it, we never went back to the Urshulaku after the 3rd trial. Urshulaku Naravarine, back to Vivec. Meeting with Vivec, he gives us Wraithguard, the gauntlet we must wear if we don't want Sunder and Keening to kill us. Their magical aura is too powerful or something. Of course, Giles hates the idea of wearing this magical gauntlet, more than he hates the idea of swinging a couple magical weapons at a magical heart. But the way he sees it, freeing the heart of Lorcan from its bonds on Nirn will, eventually, kill 3 gods. 4 depending on your definitions. Ain't nothing more magical than mortal gods. We've got 2 vampire citadels to visit, and then we can take down Dagoth. And as I've said in previous videos, the Red Mountain experience is drastically different when you don't levitate through the place. There's actually a path that takes you around the mountain, touching just about every important feature behind the ghost fence. You want to go straight up the mountain, because the path doesn't look that steep, but if you keep your eyes peeled, you'll see there's some branching paths to the east and west. Going west, the first citadel you'll pass is Endosal. Not important for this run, but it's a good place to catch your breath. We continue past Endosal, cross the bridge that can survive these ash storms somehow, fight our first of many Ogrim, and make it to Veminal. The squid faces are no joke. Tentacle wizards, what can you do? We'll just rush to Dagoth Vemin, beat him into the dirt, take Sunder, and leave before anyone even realizes we were here. Oh, what an inopportune time for Berserk to wear off. I don't know what's attacking me, but I don't think my fatigue will recover before it kills me. Oh, I believe that was an Ogrim. All things considered, this armor was doing work. I'm shocked I survived as long as I did. Oh my god, this place is a nightmare. Now Giles understands why people use healing potions. Those mages have a huge tactical advantage. Please, I want to sleep. Oh, no way, Ogrim. Odrasal, please, let me rest. Oh, thank you. Golden Saint, Fire Atronak, Dagoth Odros. Key. Keening. There's probably a better pathway into the volcano's vent, but I'm an acrobat. My knees can take the abuse. There's a greater bone walker in here that I have no desire to interact with, so we're gonna zoom past it as soon as it shows up.
Welcome, Moon and Star. I have prepared a place for you. Come, bring Wraithguard to the Heart Chamber. Together let us free the cursed. Welcome, Nerevar.
The final fight is through this door. It's Berserking time.
Welcome, Moon and Star, to this place where destiny is made.
My destiny is my own. 'Cause 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 The moment of truth, equipping our first magical item. Ugh. It's slimy. Why does no one ever talk about how slimy these are?
What a fool you are. I'm a god. How can you kill a god? What a grand and intoxicating innocence. How could you be so naive? Fool? There is no escape. No recall or intervention can work in this place. Come, lay down your weapons. It is not too late for my mercy.
There. Done. Get this shit off me. I gotta say, as convenient as teleports and levitation are, going on long expeditions across the map is pretty enjoyable. It'd probably suck if you're a low-level Bosmer, but as an orc acrobat, it's kinda fun. Yeah, I ain't taking this dumb ring.